So how does cooperation emerge in a world that feels like it's full of self-interested people? It's a huge question, right? Well, today we're going to dig into a strategy that's so simple yet so powerful that it completely blindsided all the experts. Let's get into it.
You know, think about it. You meet someone new, you stick out your hand for a shake. It's this simple, unspoken signal that says, hey, I'm willing to play ball to start things off on the right foot. And that gesture? It's basically the real-world version of rule number 1 for the strategy we're breaking down today.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the puzzle of cooperation itself. Then, we'll look at this simple strategy that blew everyone away in a famous tournament, figure out why it works so well, and then, we'll find its Achilles heel. After that, we'll see how it evolved to be a bit smarter, and finally, where this whole idea pops up in the real world.
Okay, let's get right into it. Why is it so darn hard to cooperate sometimes? Why, in so many cases, is there this massive temptation to just look out for number 1, even if it ends up hurting everybody in the long run?
The political scientist Robert Axelrod put it perfectly. You know, think about two countries that have trade barriers up. Logically, both would be better off if they just opened up trade. But neither wants to be the first one to lower their guard, because they're afraid of getting taken advantage of. And that is the core dilemma, right? Everyone looking out for themselves often leads to a result that's, well, worse for everyone.
Okay, so this table breaks it all down with the classic prisoner's dilemma. Take a look at the numbers. No matter what the other person does, you personally always get a better score if you defect. If you betray them, it always looks like the rational move. But, and this is the huge catch, if you both think that way and you both betray each other, look at that bottom right square. You both end up way worse off than if you just trusted each other from the get-go.
Which, of course, leads to the million-dollar question. If all the cold, hard math says betray, then why on earth do we actually cooperate? I mean, we see it all the time. In nature, in business, in our own lives. What gives? What's the missing piece here?
Well, to find that missing piece, Robert Axelrod set up this amazing competition, basically a tournament for computer programs, to find the single best way to handle this exact problem.
So he put out the call to game theory experts everywhere. Send me your best strategy, he said. Code it up. And he got all these entries. Some were super complex and tricky, and he pitted them against each other in hundreds and hundreds of rounds of the prisoner's dilemma. And you know, everyone was betting on some super sophisticated, kind of sneaky strategy to win the whole thing. But they were all dead wrong.
Because the winner, not just in the first tournament, but in a second, even bigger one, was the simplest, most straightforward entry of them all. It was called Tit-for-Tat, and its entire playbook is right there. You start by being cooperative, and then you just mirror whatever your opponent did last turn. That's it.
Seriously, it boils down to just two incredibly simple rules. Rule 1, always start nice, cooperate on the first move. And rule 2, just do whatever they did on the move before. They cooperate, you cooperate. They defect, you defect. That is the entire strategy. So the big question is why? Why did this ridiculously simple strategy just demolish all those complicated, super-engineered programs? Well, Axelrod dug in and found 4 key ingredients to its success. And it's really the combination of these 4 things that makes it a powerhouse. First, it's nice. It's never the first one to throw a punch, you know? It never defects first. But it's also provocable. You can't just bully it. If you defect against it, it hits back right away. Third, it's forgiving. It doesn't hold a grudge. The second you go back to cooperating, it's right there with you, instantly. And finally, and this is so important, it's clear. Its strategy is so simple that its opponents figure it out really fast. They learn that being nice is the best way to get a good outcome for themselves.
Okay, but it's not perfect. This simple, beautiful strategy has one big, potentially catastrophic flaw. That same quality that makes it strong, being provocable, can also trap it in a terrible loop.
Just imagine for a second, there's a bit of noise, right? A single miscommunication, a one-off mistake. Because tit-for-tat retaliates instantly, that one little slip-up can kick off this endless cycle of revenge. And this is where it gets real, because think about it. How often does a simple misunderstanding between people, or even between countries, spiral into a long, painful conflict?
Yeah, this table shows you exactly how that death spiral works. Look, round 1, they're both cooperating, everything's great. Then, in round 2, player 2 defects. Maybe it was a mistake, who knows, but what happens next? Player 1, being a good tit-for-tat player, immediately retaliates in round 3. Then player 2 retaliates for that. And they're stuck. They're locked in this back-and-forth cycle of betrayal, and their scores just plummet. all from one tiny mistake.
This flaw was a really big deal, so big in fact that it inspired people to come up with evolved versions, smarter strategies designed specifically to escape these destructive spirals by adding one crucial thing: a little more forgiveness.
So, one of the cleverest solutions is something called tit-for-tats, and the idea is simple. Instead of hitting back after just one defection, it waits for two. It basically gives the other player a pass, a chance to say, "Oops, my bad," and fix their mistake. This makes it way more resilient and helps it avoid those accidental spirals of conflict.
And here's another cool evolution: generous tit-for-tat. This one is really interesting. It acts just like regular tit-for-tat most of the time, but, and here's the twist, every once in a while it just randomly decides to be generous. It will cooperate even if the opponent just defected. And that one little act of random grace, it can be enough to completely break a death spiral and get both players back to happily cooperating.
Okay, so this isn't just a bunch of abstract game theory. Not at all. These core ideas, reciprocity, forgiveness, clarity, they pop up in the most amazing places in the real world, from the animal kingdom all the way to human warfare.
Seriously, once you know what to look for, you start seeing this logic everywhere. Like in biology, you've got these guppies that check out predators together, and they'll only get close if their partner does the same risky move. That's pure reciprocity. Or in tech, the whole BitTorrent system is built on a version of this. It rewards you with faster downloads if you're also sharing files with others. And then there's war, where it tragically explains these endless cycles of retaliation, but also, amazingly, these moments of spontaneous peace.
And maybe the most powerful example of all is the live and let live system. That just happened in the trenches of World War I. As Axelrod points out, you had these soldiers on opposing sides, ordered to kill each other, who figured out these unspoken rules. You know, if we don't shell your breakfast, you don't shell ours. It was pure reciprocity. And it just goes to show, cooperation doesn't require friendship. It just requires the knowledge that you're going to be stuck dealing with this person again tomorrow. Which brings us to the final, and I think most profound takeaway from all of Axelrod's work. In so many situations we face, success isn't about beating the other guy. It's not a zero-sum game where one person has to lose for the other to win. The best strategy, the one that wins in the long run, is the one that can build trust and actually get the other side to cooperate, turning an enemy into a partner. The real key at the end of the day isn't to win against others, it's to figure out how to win with them.